know that do hunt waterfowl down here, ducks and geese, usually don't hunt them here. They go elsewhere, or somewhere up around past Houston or someplace like that to hunt ducks and geese, because they just don't come down here. They're just not coming down here. I used to, between Houston and where I'm at now, which is about 80 miles or more, we used to have rice fields all along the roads, the highway, I-10, Interstate 10, going to Houston. And when you would travel those roads, I remember as a young man, and even I say up until about 5 or 6 years ago, you used to see hundreds of thousands. The fields would just be covered with ducks and geese. And you travel now and you don't see any of them. You can travel all the way to Houston and not see any of it. So for some reason, the ducks and the geese don't come down here anymore. And like I said, we're not growing the food anymore. There's issues. I don't know if they've changed the migration of them or whatever, but I do know that we do not have the waterfowl down here that we once had. And so I just got so expensive, I just said, you know what, it's not worth $1,000 for a lease when you don't even see anything or shoot much. Now Louisiana still, and I've lived near the border of Louisiana, but Louisiana still has some ducks and geese, and pretty decent hunting. But even over there, where a lot of them are hunting, are not getting many. So anyway, it's just a changing of the times, changing of the guard, as we say. And but I did a lot of it. Did a lot of fishing and hunting when I was growing up. Did a lot of it. My dad and I, and us 3 boys, we did a lot of hunting and fishing and stuff like that. We loved it. But times change, folks. Times have changed. Okay. All right. We're getting him real good right now. And you just have to accept that times change and things change, and people are different, or times are just different. Just like deer hunting, I'm sure a lot of you guys could tell that you know how much leases cost now. And I think I talked to a guy who hunted trophy deer, and he hunted trophy deer on leases, and I mean probably 10 years ago, 5 to 10 years ago, it was $5 grand just to kill a trophy deer, you know, on a lot of these leases. So it's very, very expensive. But if that's what you love to do, that's good. I just, you know, I just decided that I wasn't going to spend that much money on leases and then not even come home with anything. So, but deer hunting is very popular up in East Texas, in the big thickets and things like that. In other words, the woods up in there. But anyway, we just those were the good old days. Yeah, things were kind of simple back then, and used to, like I said, I could just go out and hunt ducks and geese wherever I wanted to. Now everything is, all the leases have been bought up, and you've got to pay big money to do that. So anyway, that's life, as we say, and stuff. So but a lot of things have changed. The hunting has changed. just a lot of things. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put a coat on him. I'll just go ahead and put a coat on him. I have done some duck hunters. Y'all saw I have one of the videos I have is a Bill Higginbotham duck hunter or goose hunter that I've done. I've carved quite a few duck hunters, and most of them comical, most of them you know, kind of unique and things like that. I'm going to just go down here and then come down here like this with the other side of the coat. Because of my love for duck hunting, I did that. I'm just going to come down here like that instead. And yeah, we used to be a big goose and duck hunting establishment down here. Now I know up north they have a lot of hunting, but most hunting today now is you're going to have to do it on a lease. You're going to have to pay somebody to do it, and that's fine. You know, you're going to have to pay somebody to, and that's not the kind of hunting I grew up on. I grew up on hunting where you know, we just went out and shot some ducks and geese and stuff like that, and now, you know, you're very expensive to go hunting now, and I just didn't see the I don't know if it was the sport was no longer there for me or whatever, you know. Maybe you could say I'm a cheapskate. No, it's just when you hunt it a certain way and then now everything has changed. All right, now let's go ahead and make our little area right here between the legs coming up. Yeah, it's different. It's different, but it's just like anything else, folks. Just like wood carving, you know. It's there was a time when wood carving was so different. There was a time when people loved to buy wood carvings and the handcraftiness and the things and stuff like that. And I'm not saying it has changed, but I'm saying a lot of it has changed because of the simple fact that now stuff is so heavily mass-produced overseas. And when they mass-produce things overseas, well, they basically, I mean, if you don't think so, just go to Hobby Lobby. And I'm not being critical of Hobby Lobby, folks, because they got a lot of good craft stuff that I can get for my wood carvings, but just go in those places. I mean, they're just you know, they're just full of you know, stuff that is overseas. And like I told you, I think I explained this last time I was here. I went to when I went to Dollywood, I went into their wood carving shop there, and the majority of the stuff in there was not hand carved. It was created. I mean, pick it up and look at it, folks, and see where it's from. From Japan. I mean, not Japan, China, things like that. And I understand that you can't compete. It's how in the world, unless someone wants to collect your stuff, how in the world can you hand carve something and compete with the prices of Hobby Lobby or of you know, these places that sell it for practically nothing? You just can't. The only reason is that someone says, well, I want your particular handcrafted carving, and they buy it, you know? But as far as price-wise, to compete against these people, you'd have to sell your carving for nothing. So times have changed in everything. It's changed everywhere. But that's just the way life is, you know? We want to think that, you know, carving will not die. But it can die. But that's why I want you to, those of you that start it and those of you that are doing it, just have fun. Just have fun. Don't worry about blue ribbons. Now, you want to strive to get better, but do it because you're having fun with it. You know? I mean, I had all those ideas too when I first started carving. I was going to make a living. I was going to do this. Well, this didn't work out that way. And I was being unrealistic, you know? I was being unrealistic about what I thought was going to happen. I wasn't, you know, I was just being unrealistic about what I thought I could do with my carving. Okay. I'm sorry. Alright, let me go ahead. I'm just going to cut this in here because we're going to put a little... Okay. Alright. Anyway, yeah. Just different. We're all different. And thank goodness we are. Just gonna add a phone. Okay. Now we're worked on the body now here. As we've gone, let me see. They're both probably, put them together. This one's a little bit wider than this one. Let me bring him down just a little bit because I don't want him so much wider that he will be. Let's bring this all down just a little bit. Yeah, that's getting close to it in such a way. I like both the little guys to be kind of scaled in that sense. In other words, very close. They don't have to be exactly that scale as far as one another, but I want them to be close enough where they, you know, and one's not so big that the other is not. So sort of bring things down on both sides a little bit. You know, we think about years ago and the mistakes we've made and things that have passed and gone, and we think about the good old days, and they were good old days. They were simpler times, but in those simpler times too, there was also some really, you know, bad things that went on, and I lived during the Vietnam War. In fact, I went in the service 70, you know, I think it was 71. Yes, I'd graduated from high school. But, you know, and the Vietnam War was basically pretty much getting over at that time, or not quite as, you know, the worst time was during this early, middle 60s, as we say, for them. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to put a hat on him. We're going to come across here like this. I'm sorry. And we look at the things we did wrong and stuff, but you know, God kept us alive for a reason, and that is just the way things are. And I know there's a, you know, we all wish that we could have maybe done things different, but I'll tell you what, the tragedy of my wife, death, you know, and did get me started into wood carving, because to have something to do while she was very ill, and I wasn't doing much of it back then, but so we can say there are blessings that come out of tragedies and those type of things, but not that, you know, when you start talking about those things, you don't want people to assume that, oh, well, you wish that, would you give your, and so someone told me that one time. I said, well, it came out of tragedy. You know, I found something to do when my wife was very ill and sick in the hospitals and things like that, kind of whittling a little bit. And they said, well, would you give up whittling if your wife could have lived? Well, of course. You know, I've never even thought about such things as that. In other words, it has nothing to do with that situation in such a way that, you know, was not a factor in learning to carve. Of course, I would have rather my wife lived rather than started whittling, but that just didn't happen. So, and it's strange how people come up with stuff like that you just go, golly, where did you come up with something like that? You know, that, you know, when I tell people, you know, I started really kind of dabbling in whittling a little bit when my wife was very ill with cancer, and they, you know, and they ask you those questions. Well, and I say, you know, there were blessings that came from it, and they go, well, would you rather, you know, would you have rathered your wife lived and you just not learn whittling? Well, of course, but and you just look at people like that and you go, wow, where in the world did you come up with that kind of idea? You know, no one's celebrating the fact that, you know, they're willing to give up their loved one for you know, whittling. But sometimes people just really misunderstand and don't listen to what things are, and as we talk about things. But anyway, have you ever done that, how people misunderstand you about things? And I'm just not talking about that. I'm talking about a lot of things. And I think maybe it's just because people don't listen. They don't listen to what you're saying. That's another thing that I was talking the other day about. We've lost the act of communication with one another. But that was one of the things about communication that is very difficult for a lot of people, and that is the act of being able to listen. I think people have a lot of trouble sometimes listening to what people are trying to tell them. In conversation, by sitting down and talking to people, you have to sometimes learn how to listen to other people. and listen to what they say. Some people have a real issue with listening to others, and you can learn a lot that way, but unfortunately some people, they are just going down around the hat like that. Some people have a real issue with listening to others, and that's a sad thing. We don't want to get like that at times. That's what wives tell husbands: you never listen to me. And but I admit it's got to be hard sometimes. You know, when you're sitting there talking to somebody about carving and you love carving and stuff. I mean, it's such a joy. That's why when I go to these shows, I told you, I just love to go and get ideas from other carvers and sit and talk to them. I got to meet Roger Stiegel at the Arkansas show one time, and it was such a joy to be able, you know, when you got a table there, you're worried about, oh, well, you know, I don't want to be away from my table too long, and they don't really like you to be away from your table too long when you're in a show. But I got to sit down and talk to Mr. Roger. Such a graceful man, such a wonderful man to sit and talk to. And I sat there and talked to him for about 30 minutes or more, you know, and we just talked. We just talked carving, and we talked. What a joy! What a joy it was to talk to that man and learn from him, and just listen to him talk about his carvings and showing and things like that. It was a joy. It was a great joy. And that's what I'm trying to say. That's why, you know, when I go to these shows, most of the time I put my knives and stuff in the car or whatever, and I go in there and I enjoy myself. That's the joy of it, I'll tell you what. But I got to sit and talk to him and Miss Donna Thomas, who was there at the Arkansas show. I sat there and talked to her for a while. She wanted me to have a picture taken with her. Now, if I'd had a table, I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have just spent a whole lot of time with these people and just enjoy speaking with them and learning from them and things like that. So it was a joy to spend time just doing that. So that's why you're not going to see me in a lot of shows.